is Akilah Sisk. I chose to do my book over Feminists, and the book is called We Should All Be Feminists by Chinamana Nataja Achochi. Her book is related to the issues of feminists in this country and what she's grew up on. The author is a Nigerian writer that has wrote many books, essays, spoke at different conferences like the TED Conference, and has even written a play. She's known for succeeding in the attraction of new generation of readers to the African literature. The book is composed of 8 chapters, covering some of her childhood stories and looking over the different issues involving feminists and her views and issues with it. The book is referring to what feminist is. She argues that feminist isn't an insult, but rather a label that should be embraced by all, which is what most people need to learn. She starts off the book by telling the story of how she learned what a feminist was and when she first heard of it. She starts off telling about a time when her and her childhood friend were walking, playing, and she did something he didn't like, and as a way to insult her and correct her, he called her a feminist. Now, she didn't know what it was, but she knew by his tone of voice that it wasn't a compliment. So when she got home, she went home and looked it up and began to educate herself on it, and she's been doing that throughout her entire career with her various books, essays, and speaking conferences. She has continued to teach and advocate for feminists, and she talks about how important it is in history, including American history. She discussed different problems that feminists have had and how the word came about in this country. A feminist is someone who believes in the support of feminism, which is a range of political movements, ideologies, social movements that can be shared a common deserve to define and establish and achieve political, economically, and personal social equalities of the sexes, which is mainly meaning civil rights for women and making women equal just like a man. Throughout this country's history, feminists have been overlooked and unheard. She points out different issues that this country has shared with her experience of being an African feminist. She talks about the different struggles women have endured in this country and in her own country. She relates to her grandmother not having the same rights that she had or not having the same equality that she has, and she wishes that her grandmother had some of the same things that she had now that new laws and policies are in place. She goes into details on her views of gender construction and sexuality. She notes that the problem with gender is that it shapes who we are, so it worsens a problem. Gender in this country is not just what sex you are, but who you are and who you're judged by. One of her quotes is, "I'm angry. Gender as it functions today is a grave injustice. We should all be angry," in quotes. She wants change because people belittle women and feminists who just want the same rights as everyone else. This country has had many issues due to inequality, including women, especially for women. Women have had to fight since the beginning of time and still do to this day. She goes over various wage gap, sexuality, sexual assault, and different issues that women have had to struggle with that go unlooked. It relates to history because it has shown how history has treated women and what women are fighting for, now even to this day. In her opinion, anger has helped history change things, and women are now fighting for their rights and standing up for what they should be in. She discussed how she hopes things will change and how she's hopeful because she believes deeply in the ability of humans being able to change and make things better and make themselves for the better. Her views on sex and genders have structured and reinforced wage equalities, discriminated treatment at work and in school. And in history, we've always seen how women have been overlooked. During slavery, slave masters were allowed to rape and do whatever they want to the women just because it's women. At the end of time, we've always heard boys will be boys, overlooking what men do to women, and how in society a woman's job is to cater for her man, take care of her man, to get married a good man so you can be taken care of. But things change with women's rights coming into play and them wanting to work, take care of themselves, be independent, get educated on their own, and live without just needing a man. It's related to history because most societies have has started to be organized and change things for how women are and making it equal for all women. She notes how even in her country, there were places women couldn't go to, like clubs or restaurants, where she had to go and they had to get men to help them. She relates to a time when she was walking with her friend Lewis and how she saw a woman having to find a man just to go into a restaurant. And she told Lewis, quote, "Lewis, I don't see how things are different and harder for women," unquote. How women can be just need a man to do everything. And that was how things were in her country. They were raised to marry someone rich so you can be taken care of. And that's kind of how things were in the early days of the United States and American history. But our attitudes and mindsets have always been taught this. But she also quotes, "What if we change this?" She quotes, "What if raising children, we focus on the ability, then gender, and focus on their interests instead of just gender and how that could change things. Instead of telling a boy, oh, you can do this, or you can do that, and a girl can't, to just focus on what they can do as in their ability instead of just going by a gender bias." How things were before women had rights is important to what feminist is in American history. It's an important part in changing things and informing people and educating them. It's the first part. That's why it is important for students to learn these things and learn about the experience of what feminist is. Or by just reading this book, I've learned a lot. It teaches students about the value of women and how it has not always been upheld. Men have always had their rights, but women have had to fight for theirs and fight to be equal. Still to this day, women are fighting for equality, equal pay, and justice on crimes that were committed against them. And it's due to the fact that it's the way that we've taught our children, or been taught. In some of her chapters, she talks about how most of the problem is not the ways that we've been taught. She speaks on how kids are raised and what they are taught relates to the issues. Quote, "We teach girls shame, close your legs, and being born female is they're already guilty," unquote. Quote, "We must raise our daughters differently. We must also raise our sons differently," quote, which is how she thinks things should be done. Girls grow up thinking they have to be quiet not to hurt a man's ego or belittle themselves to not outshine their man. And girls have to aspire to get married, cater to their man, but in reality they can work and earn a name for themselves. Men grow up thinking they can't do anything because they are men, and women grow up thinking they can't do more than a man because you don't want to outshine a man. Students learning this will learn how to treat their peers, what their parents have gone through, what history has changed, and how to go into a workforce or in their family force. The way people think and know can evolve with education. Students learning about this will give them a different perspective on the role of women and what women should have and don't have. They can see the full aspect of who women are and the things that they're trying to do and bring to the table. In her words, she understands men and women are different, but society makes it even more different and makes it harder to get through life, especially with the media, because we've always seen a happy home can be suggested by a man taking care of the woman, or the woman coming home, staying home, taking care of the kids, the man going to work. But now in this age, women can go to work, men can stay home and take care of kids. Women can be just as happy living on their own and having their own. And after reading this, I have seen different aspects of it and how history has changed and her thoughts and views on what being a feminist is. And in quote, "We have evolved, but our ideas of genders have not evolved," unquote. I also agree with her when she says that things have changed, but they're not fully changed. There still can be less equal pay for women being hurt and not heard, or thinking that they're lying. And with this book, she shows various topics on how things have changed and how things were started with being a feminist. She focuses on different issues from the wage gap to gender roles and economy and power. She talks about how in her own country, women that have money, people think that they've gotten it from men when in reality they've worked for their money. And it's the same way in this country. Society has taught if a woman has a lot of money, a man must be paying her bill. Oh, she has someone paying her bill or taking care of her, when in reality she has it all on her own. It's the same in Nigeria as it is in here in America. She concludes the book by saying it's a great disservice to both men and women by teaching them to adhere to strict gender roles, that we must all be accountable and acknowledge that there is a sexism and we must fight to fix the problem. That just going along with the way things are isn't going to help it. Being a feminist is about wanting equality for women, and feminist can be a man or woman that just believes that women should be able to have the same rights. That even though we might be able to do different things, we should have the same doors open up for each other. And a good fact is that some of her quotes from this book is in Beyonce's famous song Flawless. And this book strikes up a conversation. The sad truth is that gender is not an easy conversation and make people uneasy. And thinking of change can start with having a conversation about it. Feminist is a part of human rights, and denying that specific role is the problem that we still have to this day. And after reading this book, I've learned more on this subject, and how being a woman shouldn't be used as an insult or as a disadvantage. She quotes, "I love being a woman. I love being girly and dressing girly." And so do I. You shouldn't have to change yourself just to lessen yourself or belittle yourself just to get by in a life. And that is my review on Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie book, We Should All Be Feminists.